Bailey, welcome to the show today.
Thank you for having me.
Oh, it's so nice to see you.
Thank you.
On this very, very, very cold Tuesday morning.
Yes. It's actually quite cold, and the traffic was insane getting here.
Yeah, I actually took the subway this morning because it was just, I thought, you know what, my smart car is pretty light, and it's looking like it might be pretty icy out there.
And blown away.
Blow away, yeah. So I thought, you know what, I'll just take the subway today. So I braved the elements walking to...
Well, that's smart, actually.
Walking to the subway stop, yeah. Now, where did you grow up? I noticed a little bit of an accent.
Yeah, so I actually grew up in Iran, and we immigrated as a family here to Canada in 1995. So I spent a good chunk of my life in Iran and a great chunk of my life here in Canada, in Toronto. So.
And what actually originally brought you here?
More opportunities, being able to live in a country where you can flourish, and there's not too many boundaries, so to speak.
Now, you started your career as an industrial engineer.
Yeah.
Now, that must have been interesting in a very male-dominated area, although that's changing, I understand.
It is. It certainly is. It's actually industrial engineering does have a lot more females in the program because it is related to people and processes, so it's not as technical as, say, computer or electrical. So two sort of disciplines of engineering, chemical and industrials, do have more females drawn to the degree. So although it was male-dominated, I would say I had a great group of girlfriends as well in my program and in the workforce as well.
What was that like, working in that field?
It's a very interesting field to be involved in. I don't know if you know much about industrial engineering, but what it really...
Not much.
Not much, okay. So what it does is it looks at how people can touch a process. So it looks at efficiency within workplaces, it looks at efficiency, productivity within an organization. It could look at a process. For example, when you step into a bank and you think, well, why do I have to wait so long? Or it's within an emergency room. So what we do as industrial engineers is you look at that process and see how you can improve efficiency so that the line goes by faster, the company saves more money, and etc. So it's really exciting because you can actually apply industrial engineering to anything, and I quite often apply it to myself and think, well, how can I optimize my day, and how can I do things as fast as I can? And we joke around with other friends to saying, can we shut off that part of our brain? And it seems like it doesn't happen that naturally because really it's ingrained within us now.
Now, you, of course, have had a transition in your career. You moved from engineering into an area of corporate wellness.
Yeah.
So you at one point founded the Proactive Movement. You're also a fitness instructor, a personal trainer, a spinning cycling coach, and an infusion instructor.
Yes.
What's a fusion instructor?
It actually blends in both Pilates and yoga as the principles of movements, but it really is all about movement, but more from a mind-body perspective. So it's not about pounding the body. It's more about, relaxation, incorporation with understanding the body as you're moving. So it's not yoga and it's not Pilates, but it's a sort of a blend where people that don't want to do yoga and they say, no, yoga isn't for me, and people that say, oh, Pilates isn't for me, they could be tricked into doing fusion. So
tricked?
Yes, because it's got great benefits, and that's the entire truth about it.
So you've taken all your skills and interests and created an organization called Proactive Movement. What does Proactive Movement do?
So we're actually a firm that focuses on two things. We focus on, organizational health and individual health. So Proactive Movement actually came about based on my own experiences in the corporate sector and understanding that productivity isn't just about changing the process. Productivity is also about how people that are touching that process are feeling. So if you're feeling really great, then you're bound to be very productive at work. And if you're not feeling so good, then what tends to happen is you're not as innovative, you're not as creative, and you're potentially sluggish at work. So what we focus on is how can we make a work atmosphere positive, and how can we make health promotion a part of that organization. So we go into companies and we really preach health from an organizational perspective, but also from an individual perspective. So we make it easier for employees to stay healthy, and we help the organizations to do that.
So How does it work?
So how it works is we go into a company, for example, and we'll do an assessment. So we'll do an employee assessment where we'll get a whole bunch of responses. It could be thousands and thousands of individual responses where employees will say what their health practices are. For example, are they getting enough physical activity? Are they eating healthy food? Are they stressed out? How often are they stressed out? What do they think about their workplace? Are they satisfied? What is their challenges with work-life balance? So all those questionnaires and sort of the responses builds a really great picture of that organization. And that way we could say, okay, well, there seems to be challenges around the area of stress management. There seems to be challenges around work-life balance. A lot of the employees are saying we want to be healthy, but we don't have the time to. So then based on that, we create a yearly wellness calendar for that company. So then we do fun things such as wellness fairs. We'll do yoga in a boardroom, anywhere actually from Zumba, which is sort of a dance, kickboxing, personal training within a boardroom. It doesn't have to get fancy. We'll do catering policies for the organization so that the organization can order healthy food that's going to help their employees instead of ordering the pizzas and the scones and the danishes where it's going to put people to sleep. So we'll have a lot of other things such as lunch and learn, so education. But I would say if I was to sort of explain to you proactive movement in 3 words, it would be that we actually bring awareness to the organization. So what are employees struggling with? We bring education, and then we bring action.
And do you have sort of the large CEOs and presidents of organizations getting involved in doing yoga in the boardroom?
Some do, absolutely. Yeah, we've got some great folks that are in executive sort of management teams, and they come down and they use our services. So whether it's a fitness class that's happening right after work, they just figure, well, this is so much easier. I can get my activity in and then go back to work instead of just not being able to be physically active. And also attending our lunch and learn. So they may not have the time to go and see a nutritionist, but they do have about 40 minutes to come to a lunch and learn and read about healthy eating on the go, for example. So we do have the opportunity to not only reach out to those folks, but also the frontline workers, the project managers, the manufacturing folks, and whomever is working within that company.
So we talked a bit, you mentioned challenges with stress management. I mean, what kind of challenges do you see?
Well, stress, the way that I view stress, you can't really, press the delete button and delete stress out of your life.
You can't?
You can't, unfortunately.
I was looking for that button.
Yeah, I know, me too, often. But I think what's really important is recognizing how do you deal with that stress? Do you have a tool belt that assists you to deal with that stress? So it's about education a lot of times. And, with stress, a lot of times we may be overwhelmed. We may be burning out, but we're not recognizing it because we're not having an internal conversation with ourselves to do something about that. So I find that with stress, a lot of times it's understanding why are you stressed, what is your reaction to that stress, and then what can you do about it? Because you can't get rid of it, but you can reduce it. So things like physical activity, right? You don't think that's related to stress, but a lot of times, yes, it is. Absolutely. When you get on that treadmill and you maybe run for even 20 minutes, your stress level decreases. If you're eating healthy, then your body is in a state of balance instead of having a lot of sugar and sodium in your body where your body is going to be in a state of stress as well. So the way you react to everyday occurrences is quite different.
So if I worked for a company, if I was an employee for a company that you were involved with,
yeah,
I could maybe at my lunch hour have a lunch and learn, or maybe a yoga or a massage.
Mm-hmm, absolutely.
And that would actually make a lot of sense if there's a benefit, if my company's paying benefits for massage, and you can come into my office and while I can still continue my work and I'm in the de-stress,
yeah,
and I've got you there helping helping me maintain health.
Absolutely.
It makes a lot of sense.
It sure does. And it's just a matter of all of us sort of individually thinking about a really, really busy work day. So when you wake up, you shower, you get ready for work, you're on the crazy commute, no matter how you're commuting to work. Then you start work, you're spending the next God knows how many hours at work. Well, clearly we know we can't be productive for the full 8 hours or the full 7 hours. We need breaks within it. So a lot of times people aren't using that break wisely, so to speak. So what if your organization was to say, hey, you can use a 10-minute massage break and then feel great after. You're bound to return to work much more, in a much more better state, so to speak, right?
Now, the World Health Organization, according to something I had read on your website,
Yeah.
The World Health Organization proposes that mental health will be the leading cause of disease burden by 2020.
Mm-hmm.
Now, what does this mean for Canadian organizations?
Well, it means that if they want to stay ahead and if they want to have organizations that thrive, they really need to start paying attention to their state of their employees. So burnout is huge in organizations. And what happens is employees end up leaving their workplace thinking, okay, the problem is my workplace. And then they go to the next workplace. And then they burn out there, and then they move to the next workplace. So really the challenge is, how do we create an atmosphere where employees can reduce their stress, they can live a healthy life, and so that we won't fall into the bucket that you just mentioned. So, for example, if you're feeling really burnt out, if you don't have time for yourself, then a lot of times they look at sort of studies will then say that, if you're not taking care of yourself and if you're feeling burnt out and if you're not actually doing anything about it, then anxiety sort of comes about. If you don't take care of the anxiety, then depression comes about. And then that's where a lot of organizations need to start worrying about how are their employees feeling and what can we do to make sure that they stay healthy within our organization. So helping them live a better and more fulfilled life while they're doing great work, if that makes any sense.
It makes a lot of sense to me. Yeah. Now, listen, we're up for break, but before we do, I have my regular good to know minute when I ask my guests for their top tip on creating a successful life. Bailey, I know you've got a great one.
Yeah. So I think it's really, really important to know yourself, right? And have a conversation with yourself on a daily basis, check in with yourself. And what I mean by that is if you look at the activities and the involvements that you have within a given day, if they're feeding your soul, then fabulous, you're doing great. If they're not feeding your soul and they're depleting you, then that's an opportunity for some great change and for some great action.
Thank you so much.
No problem. Thank you.
We're going to take a break, and when we come back, more with Bailey Vaez. Welcome back to Extraordinary Women. I'm Shannon Skinner, and I'm here speaking with Bailey Vaez, founder of Proactive Movement. The name is actually quite descriptive, isn't it?
It is. Proactively moving your organization towards health. That's what it was meant for.
Now, during the break, we were talking a little bit about some stats that you've sort of dug up that sort of helps explain what it is that you do.
Yeah, well, in general, I think a lot of people may not recognize sort of the state of risk that we're in as a society. So I don't know if you know, but what do you think is an adequate amount of physical activity on a given week to maintain your health? What do you think that would be?
Well, I guess different experts have different explanations.
The minimum.
Like 20 minutes a day or something like that?
It's actually 30 minutes, right? Health Canada suggests 30 minutes of physical activity 4 times a week.
So I was close.
Yeah, but now 2/3 of Canadian population isn't getting that. So we're talking 2 hours a week, and 2/3 of the Canadian population isn't getting that, so therefore we're not maintaining our health. So when you look at that on its own, well, it says that, there's quite a challenge. And when you look at sort of other statistics, such as chronic pain, 1/3 of the Canadian population is actually experiencing chronic pain. So again, that's huge, because how do you go to work and be productive and be optimal when you've got chronic back pain, chronic neck pain, and so forth? So I think this is why there's really fabulous stats out there that speak to the need for corporate wellness, and we're really excited to be able to make this the norm in organizations, because the need is certainly there.
And I mean, Proactive Movement's quite unique.
I'd hope to. I'd hope for that.
In my research, I didn't come across anything quite like it.
Yeah, well, there's other organizations that do great work as well, but I think the way that we handle it is, linking in the metrics and linking in the productivity studies, and also linking in the yearly wellness calendars and understanding the needs, and then rolling out an initiative. That's what makes us unique.
And of course, you're based in Toronto, but do you do work outside the city?
When the request is there, we have worked with an organization in Vancouver, so we can, reach out for organizations outside of Toronto, but because it is a small business, we're 3 years in business now. Continue doing that. We sort of focus in the Toronto and Ontario region for now.
Now, I know that you have some really great specific tips of what organizations can do to create a healthy workplace for their employees. And the first tip you mentioned to me was to do an audit.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the first and, the smallest thing an organization can do is to do an audit to understand the environment, right, that the employees work under. So we're talking about ergonomically set up workstations, safe working conditions. We're talking about, the type of foods that you hold in your cafeteria, the type of food that you order in. Other audits such as, the working relationships of the individual. So that would probably be the number one thing to look at your organization and see what are some of your practices, and are they helping employees, or do they need to be rejigged, and do they need to be fine-tuned?
And watch those cookies around the coffee maker.
Yeah. Well, we believe in moderation, right? But a lot of times we're noticing that, well, we may go into an organization, we're doing a lunch and learn on healthy eating, and then the lunch rolls in and it's pizza and chips and candy, and we think, well, that's probably not the message that we want to send out. So then it's really just the awareness to be able to bring healthy goods to the workplace and make that into a practice, because a lot of people would choose to have the vegetables and the fruits and the healthier goods instead of what's in front of them, right?
Now, one of the a common complaint I hear from people who, are in business, whether they're working for a corporation or they're self-employed, is they put on weight from business lunches.
Oh, absolutely.
The business lunch.
Absolutely. You can, especially if you're eating out, you can consume anywhere from 500 to 1,500 calories depending on what it is you're eating. And, we talk about, in one of our lunch and learns, we just talk about Swiss Chalet, for example. If you're going to Swiss Chalet and you're ordering food, you can order the white chicken, no skin, get the vegetables, get the salad, and get the whole wheat grain, versus getting the dark meat and the skin on it and the chalet sauce and all the other stuff that's on it. And there's about like a 20-gram difference in fat only, and a whole lot more calories in the other meal, right?
Well, I've learned in my own life for business lunches, I typically stick to the salad and soup and a glass of mineral water.
Exactly, and just being prepared and having something in your bag, right?
Yeah.
So that maybe you can have a couple of nuts before you have a bit of a meal before going to your business lunch.
Now, you had another tip. Open dialogue. Organizations should open dialogue with their employees.
Yeah, it'd be great for organizations to actually understand what their employees are challenged with. So doing things such as a survey, having the possibility for employees to come to them with ideas. And that's really, really important, because if, say, 60% of your organization's finding it a challenge basically to be physically active or eat healthy, then right away you know that as an organization you can do something to support them, and your employees will then be thankful for that initiative.
And another tip was to create flexibility for employees so they could take care of themselves.
Absolutely. So things such as yoga in a boardroom doesn't have to be that complicated, right? It's 40 minutes of lunchtime yoga, which is going to make you feel better. So visionary organizations recognize that, and they'll give the go-ahead to their employees to do programs such as this. But other organizations may come up with excuses. So for example, what about liability? What about this? What about that? When you start to look at it, you recognize that we can work through those issues to seek, to basically realize great results based on small initiatives such as yoga at work, such as massage days, such as giving the flexibility to people to work from home, right? So it could be anything. It doesn't necessarily have to be about, health solutions at work, but I think a tip for organizations to get to sort of create a healthy atmosphere is to have flexibility for their employees, so to have that dialogue and understand what the needs are, and then create solutions for them.
Now, you mentioned visionary organizations. Is this sort of typical for your typical client? They visionary organizations?
I do believe that. I think that, especially when we speak with upper management, our success rate depends on whether they get the message or not, right? And whether they want to do something for their employees and they understand the importance of a healthy employee equals a productive employee, therefore a thriving organization. So we work with great companies such as GCI Group, CIBC, Harlequin Novels, and a whole bunch of other fabulous companies that really get the message. And the initiatives will always start as a small initiative, and then we'll see the benefits, and then the company grows the wellness efforts. So to give you an example, with Visa, CIBC Visa specifically, we started with one after-work fitness class. 12 people were in a room. This was a pilot initiative, and this was about 2 years ago. And now, after 2 years, you've got about 250 people that are using these classes. One class has turned into about 7 classes, and people love the classes. They feel so much stronger. There's individuals that have lost more than 35 pounds. We did sort of measurements to see how many people have actually lost weight, and there was about 35% of the people in the program lost more than 10 pounds. About 90% of the people that come to these classes continue to come. So it's not like the gym membership where you go the first month and then you never go back. So it's solutions that work. And so when an organization's open to piloting something and testing a good idea, then they can reap the benefits in years to come.
So you've got employees,
yes,
is that right? And so you'd have a team that goes into the organization,
exactly,
with yoga mats or whatever weights,
sometimes
whatever.
Yeah, absolutely. So like I said, our initiatives are anywhere from health screenings, where a registered nurse will be able to do a health screening, to lunch and learns, where we'll have naturopathic doctors, we'll have executive coaches, we'll have life coaches, personal trainers, a whole bunch of different people with fabulous expertise that will then go into an organization and teach them what they need to know. So lots of fabulous health experts that I work with, and I'm grateful because I learn every single day from each one of them.
Do you feel like you're making a difference?
I hope to, right? And I definitely do feel that I'm making a difference. Small steps towards what I want this sort of company to become. And the reason I'm doing this is because I would love for a workplace wellness to be the norm in every organization, not just the visionary organizations. I think it's a really, really important initiative, and it needs to be the norm in order to have a thriving community and organization. So I'm excited for the work that we're doing, and I would definitely say it's not me that's doing the work, it's all of the folks that are involved in proactive movement and providing these great services. And we're grateful to our clients because they're enabling the change, right? They're helping us make that change.
Now, Bailey, for people who want to find out more about you, where can they go?
They can certainly reach out on our website, so proactivemovement.com. They can reach me via email as well. You can basically email info@proactivemovement.com. We also do send out sort of Twitter links, so I can be found on Twitter as well under Bailey Vaez.
Oh, that's fantastic. Yeah. Well, thank you so much for being here and talking about proactive movement today. I hope that you've got a great plans for the holiday season. Are you going to go anywhere special?
Yes, I'm going to the warmth country.
Oh, really?
So I'm planning on going away. Yeah.
Oh, good for you. Well, thanks again for being here today.
Thank you for all the great work that you do. So
Thanks
we're appreciative.
very much.
Thank you.